Resuming. Weird. World. Order. Broadcast. Dialer phones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I'm the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, it's all about the...
Booyah, what's up? It's your boy Joe, baby.
And to my other right, coming in at 178 adamantium filled pounds, coming straight out of Krakoa, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
Whole announcement shtick didn't go over so well, did it? That was my best Bishop impression.
Well, that announcement shtick did not go over very well. Neither did that Bishop impression. However, one thing that did leave a great impression on us this weekend was WonderCon 20 and 24. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be doing an exciting recap of WonderCon 2024. I'll jump in and start it off. I really wasn't expecting that much going into WonderCon. No one told me this. It's just kind of the impression I got based on some things I'd seen on social media. They weren't selling very well. This is my assumption. I don't know. I just make stuff up, as you guys know. So I assumed that it wasn't going to be that great of a con, And so I went there and I was like, what's going to be here? But I have to say, I was really, really impressed by everything. Tagging along with Alfonso being, like basically his sidekicks when it comes to knowing everything that is X-Men, definitely changes the environment of WonderCon. And Saturday was just great because anytime you get to see Alfonso in his element, which we'll get into talking about X-Men, it's just great. Just absolutely love hanging out with Alfonso, letting him do the thing that he does so well. And, obviously Joe and I have been doing WonderCon for years and years and years. And so for us, it's always like family reunion time. We go out there and we do what we do. I feel like what we did 10 years ago is very different from what we do now. And it's definitely a better experience now. And I feel like now it sparks more conversation, which is the thing that I love most is, sparking conversation. So as you can hear, I'm rambling. And I'm going to turn it over to everybody's favorite rambler who's actually funny, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
Oh, sorry. I was using a mouse, so it took me a while to get to the unmute. Man, I only had tickets for Saturday. All right. Couldn't do Friday. I had to work. Sunday, there's no way the wife is letting me get out of Easter. So I only got tickets for Saturday. So I had to make the most of it, right? Of course, the Hellfire Gala Walk was on Saturday, and I was super stoked about that. A little bit of letdown, but my X-Men peeps are always super excited to me. I was a bit concerned because throughout the week I'm looking at the forecast, the weather forecast, and it's like, man, storm is not going to be nice to us because it was supposed to rain Saturday, and rain it did, man. I got there immediately and it was pouring down rain. I had my umbrella out, trying to stay dry. My poor daughter, she actually cosplays for well, not the first time, but this is her first big cosplay that she did from some obscure video game called Copper Odyssey. She was a person called Jax, and she had makeup. She had as much makeup on as Dukes did when he was the Red Skull. You know what I mean? And she had this awesome blue wig. So I was really afraid that she was going to get stuck in the rain. Made sure she brought an umbrella. Wife dropped us off. We rolled right in. It actually went pretty well. But because of the rain, I knew WonderCon's all about the cosplay, right? And people get out on the fountains and the little garden walk area, and it's beautiful. It's a great place for photos. And I'm like, those people are all going to be inside. This place is going to be so much more crowded than it normally is. And it was kind of wall to wall people. It was still fun. I had a great time, missed out on some really cool photo ops that were outside because of, the rain. But I did get my daughter in front of the main fountain right in front of the WonderCon sign and got a really good picture of that. And I'm so far behind in posting photos right now, but I'm stoked to do it.
Emma looked awesome. I didn't know who she was at first, but I was like, wow, That makeup is on point. Emma, you did an absolutely great job. It was great meeting your boyfriend. He seemed like a very cool person. So it was just great. It, like I said, man, it was cool when we rolled up on Alfonso. We didn't, well, Joe snuck up on him because Joe is the ninja. Speaking of ninja, what's your initial thoughts on WonderCon, Joe?
It was a good con. I felt like it was a little more emptier than normal. Like there was, as far as like not the people, but just the booths. I felt like there was a lot of empty tables with empty chairs, and it seemed like we walked the con a lot faster than normal. And we walked slow too, so I felt like we got through everything pretty quickly. And I think that was the first time we went to a con where it actually rained all weekend. And so it was pretty cool, hanging out, hanging out with you guys. I have a ball with hanging out with you guys and stuff like that. So that was pretty fun. And what I also like, I'm working like a late night radio host, of love jams and taking requests from all the women out there and the fellas that want to play some love songs to these sexy women out there, you know what I'm saying? But but yeah, I had pretty fun, dude. I had fun.
Yeah, man. It was a lot of fun. So, Alfonso, you weren't with us on Friday, but when Joe says it rained for the entire con, we had maybe an hour of sunshine. And Friday, I would not have gone if, Joe didn't cruise down. So, first of all, thank you, Joe, for driving. Y'all know how I drive anyway. You add some moisture to that, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous anyway, but you add moisture to that. So, Joe was MVP pilot this entire weekend. He drove, so thank you for that. But Friday, Joe was very right, and that's sort of what I mean when I say that this WonderCon felt prior to going like it was going to be missing something. I didn't see a lot of advertisements for any notable stars. In fact, I would challenge people to, other than, let's say, Lenore Zahn, because she's awesome, but, let's say outside of the X-Men franchise, celebrities, they really didn't have any. That's always a challenge. But I felt like Friday was very demonstrative of the fact that, yeah, we got through really fast. My son was there. He was searching for Marvel Legends or whatever else he could find. But it was it the vendors? I mean, Joe, you said the vendors seem more empty. Did it just seem like they had less stuff there to look at?
Yeah, it seemed like there was a lot less stuff. The thing that's been popping off the last couple cons is Artist Alley. I feel like Artist Alley is getting a little more traction with people buying stuff.
Mhm.
And I feel like they should have a bigger area. They shouldn't be at the front of it anymore. I think they should be like at the back end. Or, it could even be in the middle. I just think like I wonder if, just Marvel's movies, because they're doing so terribly, if that affected Comic Cons now. Because when Marvel was really hitting and making all those hits, it seemed like everybody was trying to go to Comic Con to find anything they can in the fandom of the movies or the TV series that they enjoyed. And I feel like now it's back to comic book fans and comic book readers, and you know like, well, I think we touched on it a little bit too, is now that Disney has their own fan expo, Disney Expo, D23, I think it is. Yeah. A lot of people save their money for that, like, and then, like, I don't get into politics, but we're low key in a recession right now. So I think people are saving their monies for, like, Marvel stuff. I think is more sort of Disney, because, Marvel doesn't come to WonderCon or even San Diego Comic Con anymore. And then you have Anime Expo. So, I mean, I think people are just picking and choosing which cons they go to and which ones they can afford. And I think that's what's hitting WonderCon with it. I mean, it's still like, was still kind of packed, but I just feel like the vendors also are picking and choosing which cons they're going to go to where they can make more money and not waste, time in a place where they know they're not going to make any money.
Yeah. It's so it's so bad. Some vendors don't even accept credit cards. They're just trying to get the money they can any way they can. Venmo, Zelle, PayPal. but they don't take credit card anymore. Well, there's at least one vendor. All the others did take credit card, but I that's such a good point, Joe. Is D23 really put a torpedo in the whole San Diego Comic Con WonderCon franchise, because like Marvel's still the big dog. You take that away, that takes away a lot of the reason people want to go. And then, in conjunction with that, Disney has Star Wars and they have their Disney movies. So it's like, I would say a good 50%, maybe 25, 35% of the fandoms that people care about, they can now see at D23. Or to Joe's point, the other, let's say 25, 35% is now focused on anime. And I'm not even exaggerating. Around me, there is an anime con every weekend. So there's literally one next weekend. We had Anime Las Vegas. I don't live in Vegas, but I'm making a point. So just hear me out. Um, every weekend, there's an anime con. And I feel like that, to Joe's point, that's where the fans are right now. They're more focused on anime. And I went looking for a manga that I'm reading right now, which is called Kaiju number 8. Strongly recommend it. It's a great book. For me to read something all the way through, get up to the 4th book and be searching for number 5, 6, 7, it's got to be good. I look for it, couldn't find it. Couldn't find books 5, 6, 7. So I feel like Joe has 2 excellent points, and that does explain a lot. So thank you for that, Joe. Alfonso, I'm just going to let you do what you want to do anyway, dude. Tell us about your X-Men adventure on Saturday.
Well, that was the thing. It's like my purpose at cons nowadays is just to find every X-Men cosplayer I can and take a photo with them, just fulfilling some kind of childhood fantasy or something. There was tons of them. There was so many rogues. There were so many Gambits. One guy was dressed as Gambit with a little half shirt, serving up beignets. He even had a pair of tongs with him. Oh, that's funny. Even the guy who voiced the Gambit during the X-Men panel was dressed as Gambit with that that crop top that everybody's talking about right now. Man, there were so many good cosplays out there. Probably one of my favorites though, and you guys loved it too. We were just talking about how, man, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a multiple man, like maybe if there's some triplets or some twins out there, dressed up like that. And this guy walks up and he's full on X Factor multiple man from Larry David, and he's got 2 heads kind of floating next to him, dressed the exact same way. And it's like 1 man in 3. Oh, dude, that guy killed it. He was one of my favorites of all time there. What about you guys? Do you have top cosplays that you saw?
Absolutely. Female Bishop was just awesome. It's so basic when you think about it, but there was something about her costume that just nailed it. It had its own presence and energy. So definitely Female Bishop.
Yeah.
Did you get her name by chance, Alfonso?
I've got her Insta. Let me dig it up.
Wow.
Off the top of my head now.
Well, either way.
But
I'm sure
there was. Oh, I'm sorry. There was that couple. They were dressed like from the Marvels movies in the white spacesuits, and they had the, what do they call, Flurg or Flurkin?
Flurkin.
Yeah, the Flurkin behind them, like the little cats, and they had the tentacles coming out of their mouth, like absorbing them. Devlin and I got a picture with them. Unfortunately, in both pictures. Oh, by the way, shout out to Devlin. What do we call him on the show? T-Rex Attack or something?
T-Rex Dev.
Oh no, he's
Batmite. But now with that tattoo he has, with the Jurassic Park
truck,
he's got to be T-Rex Dev, man.
That's true.
He's got to be. Yeah.
So him and his daughter was there. They had a great time, but like both pictures that we got with those people, the cat was cut off. So you saw us in the tentacles and no cat. So it was kind of like, oh man. We really missed out on that one because that was an awesome opportunity. But yeah, that female Bishop, dude, she was buff. She just, everything about her, she just had that presence. She had a nice gun. It was funny because I took a couple pictures with her, and she remembered me because I went back and I go, hey, can we get it? He goes, Shout, I got a picture with you. And I go, no, it's from boys. They want to get a picture with you. She goes, all right, fine. But she had an afro mohawk. It was so sweet.
Yeah. I didn't get a picture with her. I got a picture of her. I'm not trying to pose with her. It's like, hey, look at me, and this person is in a really good cosplay. Me and my t-shirt. So Yeah, she was awesome. There were so many good cosplays though. The multiple man was a good one. When we went to Alfonso's X-Men animated series fandom thing or whatever it was called, the group photos that they were doing, like, oh, and all the Jean Greys, all the Storms, all the Bishops, all the Gambits, those were just cool.
Yeah.
It was almost like a evolution of all the different incarnations of the characters, and some of the cosplayers' own interpretation of those characters. It was super cool.
Yeah. When they had all the Storms get together, like they're all
Mhm.
posing for the picture, I yell out, "Hey, Storm, can you do something about this weather?" Got a few chuckles out of that one.
Yeah, that was actually a good one. Uh, I would say one of the things that I really like since we're on cosplay is I saw a lot of cosplayers of color, and I saw a lot of cosplayers who did the opposite of the gender of the character. Like I saw a male rogue,
Mhm.
and I was just like, that doesn't look like garbage. Like it looks really good.
Right.
And it was just like the way that people were doing it. I feel like this year, and maybe it's just because I followed Alfonso around while he took pictures of like every X-Men cosplay. This year, I felt like the cosplayers were more expressive, except that one rude Domino, who for some
Oh,
reason didn't have to see. That's why we X-Men fans get a bad rap, dude. Like you're standing in the center of the hall, right? And you're like, you're not famous. Your onlyest job is to put on that makeup, put on that suit, and when someone says, "Hey, can I get a picture of you?" you say yes, because that's my job to stay in here instead of being outside in that nasty rain. If you didn't want anybody to bother you, you know what you should have done? Gone outside in the rain, but you didn't do that. You came inside where we go. This is our spot. This is where we go. You go back outside. Just because outside is wet and rainy doesn't mean you can come in here and be like, I'm busy. I can't take a picture. Well, you know what? Your cosplay is not that good. I've seen a lot of other people around here who has cosplay a lot better. I digress. You were saying, Alfonso?
well, and on top of it, I was wearing my Cable hoodie, man. Cable and Domino, that's the picture you want. And no, she was like, nah, can't be bothered. But she wasn't a fan. She was just somebody that looked good and their friend threw a costume on her. Come with me to the con so we get some attention. But
Exactly.
one big shout out I do want to give is there was this Scarlet Witch, dude, and this girl's walking around on stilts, but the stilts, her legs in the stilts were hidden by the cape, and you see she had fake legs hanging there, so it looked like she was floating like 10 feet in the air, dude. She looked so awesome.
She did look really cool. Was she at the Hellfire Gala?
No, she wasn't. I didn't see her there. If she was, she
Hmm.
took the stilts off.
I I would swear I took a picture with a Scarlet Witch that was like not that tall, but she was a good foot taller than I was, which I'm clearly the shortest of all three of us, all four of us, if we include my son. But still, you guys aren't a foot taller than me, but she was a foot taller than me. So, but
you trying
yeah,
to say
that
that?
was.
You trying to say they all look alike?
I'm trying to say that all your X-Men cosplayers do such a great job that they all resemble the character.
Yeah, there were some really cool X-Men 97 cosplays too. Like Michelle Waffalo, she was dressed up as the Jean Grey, the pregnant Jean Grey with the referee sweater on. And there was another girl that showed up, the exact same thing. They're sitting there blowing whistles at each other, like, you know, you're not Jean, I'm Jean. You're not Jean, I'm Jean. So that was a lot of fun. Michelle's husband JT was dressed up as Sunspots. He basically had that Adidas, jacket on that Sunspot was wearing. Dude, there was one of my all-time favorites too. This was so obscure. There was a guy and he had like a white shirt on and it said FOH on it, the Friends of Humanity, and he had the Marty McFly, little sleeveless jacket on, and he had the beret on, and he's holding a sign that says "No More Mutants." Right now, if you go on Facebook, Instagram, that is my profile picture with that dude saying "No More Mutants."
So here's my thing about cosplays like the Jean Grey in the umpire's uniform or Sunspot. Sometimes as I'm walking through the con, I'm like, are you cosplaying or do you just normally dress that way? Like, if I walk through with my kilt, people would be like, nice cosplay. No, I just dress this way. So sometimes I don't know. Like, I saw Michelle Waffalo
Yeah.
in her cosplay, but I was like, I don't know what that is. Why was Jean wearing an umpire's cost or uniform?
Because that the first episode of X-Men 97, they were playing basketball like in that Jim Lee issue, and she was the referee for the game. So she had the whistle, she was stopping everybody. You know, remember when there was Gambit, he was like shirtless and he had his little bandana on and he tried to kiss Rogue. You don't remember? Dude, you got to go back and watch episode 1 again.
Yeah.
That basketball scene was pretty sweet. And that's when Jubilee got all mad at him and she's like, you know, Wolverine, you're picking on Roberto and he left. Now we got to go find him.
Oh yeah. Now I remember that scene.
It's all coming back.
Yeah, it is all coming back now. Okay.
They
Yeah,
were she was so quick. They were just so quick with it, man.
Yeah.
Like that episode's out. All right, I'm gonna dress up as a ref, you know, with the baby.
Yeah.
Just quick.
I wonder if they're on Amazon ordering as the episode is going.
Well, the trick is with Michelle, her mom is a seamstress and she does awesome cosplays. Like every cosplay she wears, her mom makes. And she's either on Amazon ordering up, and her mom's sitting there like,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, man. Dude, there was a lot of fun, man. We ran into so many people. Let's see, who did we run into? We ran into Jonathan from Geekspace. Geekscape. Yeah. I'd never met him before, and he's talking to me like I've known him forever, like, you know, trying to get me to grope him and everything. And Joe and Dukes are like laughing. I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah, Jonathan actually showed us a few pages of his new comic book.
Oh,
Looks
yeah.
great. Yeah, I would talk to him about it later. I don't know if you guys know, but his brother is an ex WWE wrestler, and the comic book is going to be based on his brother. Very abstract in that his brother never traveled to space, as far as we know. But it's pretty cool because when he was telling us like the comic book is based on his brother, I was like, I hit him up later and I'm like, do you mean Paul? And he's like, yeah, dude, this is going to be based on Paul. I was like, that's pretty cool, dude. So it'll be interesting to see how Jonathan pulls in his brother's experiences and sort of makes the comic book looked awesome, dude. It's just he's in space, he's living in a van. It looks really cool.
Are we allowed to say who his brother is? Because I'm
It's
unaware.
Paul London.
Paul London, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He kept his last name, which is who gets to keep their real name in WWE? But
No kidding.
yeah, his brother actually kept his real name, which is very cool.
I guess I could have taken his first name and his last name and put it together myself, but clearly I'm not putting the puzzle pieces together today.
Well, dude, when it comes to WWE, it's like, does anybody like really keep their real name?
Yeah.
So it could have been like Paul Heyman. His brother's Paul Heyman?
Or I was like,
You
Paul
know.
White, Paul Levesque, you know.
Yeah, dude. So who else did we see? Everyone else that we saw was basically a friend of Alfonso.
Big shout out to my buddy Luke Dual. He's an artist and he's been putting out these little books like how to draw cute cartoon characters. And my buddy Devlin, his daughter Ashlyn, and my son, they really loved the last book that he had. So he got him a new book, that the second edition that he had, and he drew a little picture. Since my son and I are really into Avatar right now, The Last Airbender, not the blue guys, he drew him a little appa in the back of his book, and it was all so cool. Man. Another one is like my buddy Ron Miltz. I know his comic book company is called Inland Blue Comics because he's actually out of the Inland Empire. He always has a booth. He stopped and talked to us, and it was cool because as I'm introducing you guys, he's like, "Oh yeah, you guys are the NWO guys." So yeah, right away that happened twice. I think also with my other buddy there. Little off subject with the cosplays, because this con to me is always about the cosplays. You know, you got no more Marvel, no DC, no Dark Horse, none of that. It's just, you know, you got the artists, you got the vendors, and you got the whatever the press is. One of the cosplays that I loved, it was a classic Kung Fu master. I can't remember his name, but he had the long beard. And he's like, as he strokes his beard. Oh man, that guy was great.
Yeah. And Alfonso took the greatest picture in the history of poses. Like, I didn't need to take any more pictures with people because Alfonso just nailed it with his kung fu picture. We'll have to post that so you can all see it. It was just an incredible pose.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Joe's like, nah, I ain't gonna try to follow that. I'm like, come on, Joe. He's like, no.
Yeah. You know what else now that I think about it is Funko skipped this
Yeah,
as
they
well.
did. Right.
Yeah, which if you think about Funko and the amount of attention they bring in as far as the fans and the collectors and everything like that goes, it it's just like, wow, it was definitely not seen as WonderCon being seen as a big deal. And I feel like all these different larger organizations bowing out led to a different atmosphere. And it was, I know I keep going back to this, it felt like WonderCon when I first started going. It felt like a WonderCon that you could bring your family to where you don't feel overwhelmed. Like Alfonso let his daughter walk around with her boyfriend, and he didn't have to worry about like a sea of people and he's not going to see her again. It's like eventually you guys cross path again, which is very cool. So
Yeah.
a lot of factors.
Yeah. We met up a lot. I mean, she is 17 now. He's 18. So I got to loosen the leash a little bit because I've always been so, this is my baby girl. I got to keep her tight and close and safe. But, you know, I let her out in the world. Oh, man. Yeah. What was I going to say? I wanted to bring up the fact that, um, I mean, I'm over here looking through my pictures. Another big cosplay that I love. There was a Macho Man Randy Savage coming up, and he's walking up to me. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Macho Man, brother!" And he's like, "Yeah," and he handed me a Slim Jim, so I was cool with that. Had me a little snack.
How big was said Slim Jim? Was it just
It
like a small one?
it was like that small.
Okay.
It was a one bite wonder, but hey, it was a free
Hey,
Slim Jim nonetheless.
free
I did.
Slim Jim. Yeah.
I ran into a Walter White and I'm like, "Hey, Heisenberg, you got anything for me?" And he goes, "I got something good for you." And he kind of looked around, pulled out a little pouch of fake crystal blue meth, and handed it to me. I gave that one to my daughter's boyfriend because he's a big fan of Breaking Bad. So hopefully not of the meth.
I was gonna say there were so many ways you could end that sentence. Like, well, he's he's on the crystal meth.
Yeah, she's under a strict no dating meth head policy. I mean, I can't put the line anywhere, lower than that. But John, that's his name. John was a good kid. It's nice to see him and being out there. He's a big movie buff, and he was looking around. He found this place that had all this vintage movie stuff, and he found a Japanese book on the Elephant Man, which is like had scenes pictures and stuff, and he was super stoked about that. So good to see he had a good time. He really enjoyed it. He took some pictures with what's the guy, Jax? Is it Jax from Tekken? The Jaguar head. Is that what it is, Joe? Yeah. So he was super stoked about that. Rikishi was there. He got a picture with Rikishi because he's a big WWE fan. Man, Eric Estrada was there. I didn't get a picture with him though because I'm kind of over him. But there was a time that my eyes would have been like, "Whoa, John and Punch!" Both of them were there.
Yeah. Some celebrities go to every event. Everyone. Yeah. So what was your thoughts, Alfonso, on the overall, like the X-Men panel that you
Yeah.
went to? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was one of my main things that I wanted to do no matter what. I wanted to get the X-Men 97 fandom panel. I'm familiar with a lot of people there. They follow me on my Instagram, Uncanny X Memes. And, I follow them back, of course. And these guys, they have their own podcast about X-Men stuff. And they're like, "Hey, you got to make sure you get there early because it's a smaller room than we're used to. And it's going to get packed quick." So it started at 7. We got there about 6:15 or so, just so we had plenty. That's not yeah. So we had plenty of time. We got front row seats to the back row, which was nice because it gives us plenty of leg room. And it was cool. As soon as we got there, I started meeting people left and right. I got to meet this guy named Finch, who I've been following for a while. He has his own. He goes by Finch AF on Instagram. He has a couple of different podcasts. But what's uncanny is he looks like my friend John Land, who passed away not so long ago. And it's just it's so uncanny. You know, I took a picture with him. I sent it to a couple friends. They're like, "Whoa, he's reincarnated," right? After that, I walked around and I got to meet who was it? I got to meet Sean Gantka. We're sitting there talking like nothing, and I was talking with Michelle and her husband, Michelle Waffalo, and she goes, "Oh, this is Sean," and I'm shaking his hand. Oh yeah, he's a producer on X-Men '97. I'm like, oh. So we just start talking forever. I tell him about all my kids, my 4 kids named after X-Men. And he's like, "Oh man," he was so stoked about it, and you know, I was showing him my X memes. He started following me, which is. So I love it. I love that people on the inside are seeing my creations and getting a kick out of them. Met plenty of other people from that. After you know, just seeing it all was great. I was bummed because I couldn't think of a question because I was so overwhelmed to get in line. Because if you're the 5th 1 through 5 in line, you would have got a free gift. And I'm like, oh, I missed it. By the time I thought of something, they already closed it out. When they closed up, everybody went outside and I just shot over there as quick as I could because I wanted to get a selfie with everybody I could. I got a selfie with Matthew Watterson, who plays Magneto, or the voice of Magneto, AJ Lacasio, who's the voice of Gambit, JP Carlike, who's the voice of Morph, Guy Augustine, who's the voice of Sunspot, Isaac Robinson Smith, Bishop, yeah. I missed Holly Chow, who's Jubilee. I was really bummed. I don't know why I didn't see her at all. I mean, maybe she's a little shorter than most, and I couldn't find her. But I also met Jake Castorina. He's one of the producers on X-Men Anime. He was on the panel and talked to him for a bit. He was a really cool guy. And then I went back and talked to Sean Gantka some more. And I just actually looked him up because I was looking at some stuff. A couple of the guys too shared my post because I did an Instagram story with them in it and tagged them, and they shared it, which was super cool. But I realized that Sean was one of the producers on Legend of Korra. Me and my son right now are watching Legend of Korra, so I had to give him a shout out for that. Say, hey, you know, we're loving it. We loved Avatar. We went through all that. Now we're on Korra, and we're having a great time with that. So, super stoked about everybody on that panel. I mean, they were just so down to earth. I felt really bad for my buddy Dylan, who's he does the House of X podcast. He was in charge of wrangling all the X-Men to get them to go to the after party that they were going to, which he told me he was really sorry he couldn't tell me where it was, and I'm like, that's cool, I got to go anyways. And he's like, man, wrangling X-Men's harder than wrangling cats. I go, it's about the same. He goes, yeah, it's about the same. So I helped gather a few of them up and get them down the escalator. Rode down the escalator with them, talking a bit. Man, they're just, it's so awesome because a lot of them are fans and they're so excited. Like the woman who was playing Jubilee, you know, she showed a picture of herself when she was a little girl in a storm costume, you know, and then now she's doing Jubilee's voice. Somebody asked each one of them to say previously on X-Men, and they all said it in their voices. And it was so, I don't know, I was so starstruck. It's funny because they're voice actors, you know, but to me, it's a real big thing because X-Men is life. I'm gonna get that tattoo.
X-Men panel was cool. I felt like this year there was more diversity in the crowd, and what I mean by that, and hey, it's time to cancel Alan. Normally, when we experience the X fandom, it's got a very LBGQT vibe, which is cool. I mean, I got nothing against that. But not being part of that particular classification, a lot of times it feels like when we're hanging out with Alfonso being his sidekicks for the day, it feels like the group is excluding everyone else. You know, it feels very much like there's an in crowd and there's everyone else, and that line is drawn by one's LBGQT standing. This time, what I saw was, like I said, more POC than I've ever seen in an X-Men panel, and it just really felt different. I think maybe because the cast of X-Men 97 is very diverse. Mm-hmm. It's bringing out more diversity in the fandoms that want to go to these panels. This is the first panel I was like, hey, you know, it feels a little bit more inclusive than it has in the past. There's definitely not a, in crowd like there was previously.
Mhm. Previously on X-Men.
Previously, hanging out with Alfonso.
Oh man, Joe, I want to hear some more of your sexy voice. I know your throat probably hurts a little bit right now, so you're shying away. But man, what you got to say?
I don't, not much to add to what Alan said to that, but I did enjoy that X-Men panel a lot, and it felt more accepting. It's pretty cool. So I mean, it was definitely different than the last X-Men panel we went to. I'm gonna say.
Here's a little side note on the way out. After I was leaving the X-Men panel, walking on cloud nine, I get a tap on my shoulder and say, "Hey, where'd you get that hoodie, man?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got this off Destructo Designs." And I turn around, and it's Joe's favorite Straw Hat Goofy. And I'm like, "What?" I go, "Dude, we got to get a selfie together." And I took it, so damn excited that when I took it, it was out of focus. And then I look over next to Straw Hat Goofy, and I'm like, "You're the voice. You're." It was Dan Provenmine. He's the creator of Phineas and Ferb. He also did the voice of Doofenshmirtz. And I've been following his TikToks lately because he is hilarious. Him and his daughter, they put all these things up, and I'm like, oh man. So I took a picture with him and I sent it to my son Logan, who's 26, 27. He's about to be 27. And he's like, oh, he goes, tell him how much he affected my life and how I'm like, he's already gone, dude. But I'll make sure to let him know on social media.
Hey, that picture was out of focus, everybody. That was me. That was me standing next to Alfonso. Just so you know, he's making the whole thing up. It was me. Picture's out of focus. No one's gonna know.
No one's gonna know.
They're gonna know. Who's gonna know?
You want to know why I was out of focus? Because homie's not loyal to his friends. Because he's out of focus with reality of being there for his friends. That's why that picture was out of focus.
Joe's all about loyalty, and I understand and respect that.
Yeah, I love how Joe just comes in sounding like this ethereal voice. You must be loyal. Mute.
He's just gonna drop knowledge in his super sexy Isaac Hayes voice.
Yeah.
Respect the ladies.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much Saturday for us, Friday and Saturday. Joe and I went to a few panels and it was pretty interesting. As I look at it, I felt like there was a lot of focus on diversity and inclusion in the panels. And I'm trying to figure out, is that just what the fandoms want now? Because I feel like if we go to the interwebs, all the people who are fans are also not really inclusive. Everyone's like, oh, there's too many women in this show, or wow, why is Morph binary? Because, bro, he can be whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he be binary? He's got options. I feel like there was a focus in the panels that we went to on a lot more inclusion and diversity. There was a lot of, let's say, pretty much every ethnicity you can see or you can think of. There was a large representation of that in the panel, and they were able to express. There was a lot of LBGQT representation in the panels we went to, and not just X panels. We're talking everything. I'll just say it was really nice to see the trans community represented in the panels. I just felt like these panels had a lot to offer that is a lot different than we've seen in the past. So I thought that was really cool. Joe, let me ask you, what was your favoriteest panel?
Probably the panel. Don't like I like the X-Men panel a lot, and then the Godzilla one that we went to was pretty dope too. So I mean, I enjoyed going to that one. It was kind of cool to think that we were gonna win that Godzilla -1 um Godzilla
Figure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But and then they had some dope hats too. That'd have been cool to get a dope hat. But I had fun. I had fun with those two panels. And then, I got to meet Kwame, which was pretty cool. So like I was like, took a picture with him and told him how much like, his music changed the way I became in life, and how, like one of his songs said, you don't have to be like everybody else, be you. So I had to let him know. And it's not every day like you can see somebody that you listen to that affect your life that you can one day go up to him and say, "Yo," he was pretty cool, bro. He wasn't a douchebag or anything, so that was pretty cool.
I will say this. I don't think I've ever seen Joe so pumped to meet a celebrity. And Joe's met a lot of celebrities. You know, he's taken a lot
Mm.
of pictures, but he was like, "That's Kwame." I was like, I don't know who that is. And so Joe's like, "Let me pull up my playlist, which I listen to every day. That's Kwame." I was
Yeah,
like, still don't know. But dude, Kwame was actually very cool. You
yeah,
know, he stopped, took a picture with Joe. Joe made some references. He was like, "Wow, this guy's a real fan." It was cool.
Deep
Uh,
cuts.
yeah. Joe had the deep cuts, dude. And then because Joe was the pilot of our adventure, Joe got to play me some Kwame, and I was like, "This is pretty good, man. I like this Kwame dude." So that was
yeah.
cool. Let me complain for a moment because you know what? Other than canceling me, what do I do? You know, so I told Joe this. There were maybe 50, 70 people in the Godzilla panel. Y'all couldn't give us a hat? Like some stickers?
Yeah.
Something? I understand you're going to raffle off that big -1 Godzilla. Okay, that's fine. But y'all couldn't, like, come on, dude. And then you gave hats to everyone who was on the panel, but then you also gave them a raffle ticket, right? So it's like, oh, and then one of the people who already had a hat won a hat. But then she was like,
Mhm.
"Hey y'all, I don't need a hat because I can probably just walk up and get one for free later anyway." So she
Right.
relinquished her hat and let someone else win it. Yeah, man, the Godzilla panel was just incredible. Godzilla -1, not that Godzilla X Kong trash, but it was Godzilla -1. And the thing that was really cool about it is, believe it or not, because I know it's hard when this happens, mainly because I'm stubborn, I learned something in that panel where they talked about the bombings of the Bikini Islands, which is where also relates back to basically the origin of Godzilla.
Mhm.
And they explained that the United States government bombed the Bikini Islands so intensely that it completely changed the topography of of the Bikini Islands. And I was like,
Wow.
wow. So there was a lot of history that you're not aware of in the making of Godzilla, which is really cool. And they talked about how it affected the people of Bikini Islands and the neighboring islands and locations. I can't say normally you go into a panel, you learn very much. You get some opinions, but rarely do you learn anything. But this was cool. I actually learned quite a bit. So shout out to the people in the Godzilla -1 panel who got hats, even though I didn't.
Hey,
Mm.
speaking of the Bikini Islands, I don't know if it's a fan theory or if it's something that's been said, but SpongeBob SquarePants is in Bikini Bottom, and it's said that Bikini Bottom is beneath the Bikini Islands, and that's why everybody is so, um, because of all the radiation and everything. That's why everybody is so animated and able to do things, and that's why sometimes they come into the real world and stuff. So, little small unknown fact there.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's actually a good fan theory. I like that
Oh,
one.
and then something about Barnacle Man and what was the other one? Barnacle Man and his sidekick, what is it, like the kind of Batman and Robin, that they were actually shrunk and that's why they're human beings in the Bikini Bottom world.
Hmm,
Barnacle Man.
that's actually pretty darn interesting. So I'm gonna jump over to Sunday and talk about a panel that was different, I'll say. Joe and I kind of went to church, which was different. It was a panel on Christians in fandoms,
Hmm.
but it just kind of turned out to be a sermon.
Sermon? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but it wasn't a bad sermon. I mean, it wasn't as good as like, the homie Pastor Obed Martinez over there out in Palm Desert where I used to live, Indio. Props to Destiny Church. But yeah, it was okay. Okay. Oh, Alfonso, you would have loved this sermon, dude. You would have loved this sermon. Okay, this pastor he looked like Mark Henry. This pastor took the X-Men and created a sermon around the X-Men. It was crazy because it was dope.
See, whenever I go to church, always nervous to wear like my X-Men shirts, but that's pretty much all I have because it's like X-Men talks about the next evolution of humans, and it's like evolutionism and Christianity, they kind of don't mix too well. So man, I would have loved to see that just to have me some ammo just in case I needed to talk about that.
I would guarantee you can probably find that sermon somewhere. Somebody recorded it or something. If they
Right.
didn't, shame on you, Christian Fellowship of Comic Book Readers, for not recording it. Because it was one of those things where I was like, what's this guy got?
Yeah.
We can't walk out now, or we'll look like those guys.
Heathens. I appreciate that they actually had a panel and they went and they talked, civilly about that. Unlike the people outside who are like condemning you to hell for liking comics. And I'm like, this is not the God that I know. This is not the accept and the love. I'm like, you guys need to chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah. Just the comparisons. I was like, okay, this dude did okay. Okay, I wouldn't go to his church because his energy is a little bit low for me. If you want me to sit through church, you
you
gotta
better
you gotta hype it up a little bit, bro. Put some Red Bull in my communion water or something. But yeah, he was a little boring, but his message was dope. So that was a little bit surprising. I feel like the other panels that we went to were standard. As far as the how can I describe it, the diversity and just jumping into that was pretty big. So one disappointing thing about Sunday, and I hope my sister's listening to this because she got me a $50 gift card for
Ooh.
Father's Day and I never used it. And I was like, Joe, I got this gift card here. And I broke it out. It was still in the package since Father's Day. And I was like, they got this Godzilla -1 statue and it's $80. So I was like, I'm going to take my $50 gift card and I'm going to purchase this with my Quicksilver card. Then I'm going to use my points from my Quicksilver card to erase that purchase. And it's like I got it for free. Right.
Nice.
So I was hyped. Right. And me and Joe started walking around. This is the first time ever in the history of any convention Joe could not find a booth that we walked to. Could not find it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because me, I'm always like, oh, well, I'm just going to think about it. That's what I always say.
Right.
I waited for 3 days. The first day I walked up to dude, I was like, oh, how much is that -1? Because I really don't want it. I'm just asking just for a friend. And he was like, it's $80. Next day I was wearing my Godzilla t-shirt and I rolled up and I was like, oh, how much is that? What do you call it on that Godzilla? Yeah, that Godzilla. It doesn't look like it. Oh, what? Oh, it's -1? Oh, I never heard of that. $80? Okay. Next day I went back again. I was like, he's like, it's still $80. I was like, so I just went ahead and I was like, I'm gonna think about it. So I walked around, I finally hyped myself out, and then Joe and I could not find that booth, dude. Could not find it.
Dang.
Yeah. First time that's ever happened in the history of any convention.
That kind of reminds me of the one there was like a 2-pack of X-Men. I don't know if they're figures or if they were statues. It was Wolverine and Jubilee. And I'm like, I've never seen this. And it was from X-Men Animated. I'm like, there is not much out there in the line of X-Men stuff that I have never seen. And Duke's like, buy it, dude. Just tell your wife I gave you permission. Tell him Joe said it was okay. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. 80 bucks. And I'm like, no. And then the Sunday I'm sitting there watching my Instagram stories and my buddy Finch, who I just met there, he actually was walking around with it in the bag. He just purchased it. I'm like, oh, you're so lucky I didn't buy that because that could have been mine.
Should have bought it. As you can all hear, our threshold is $80. That's for me and Alfonso. We're just like, oh, I don't know.
It's the bottom line.
Yeah,
Hey,
if it had been $70, Alfonso and I would be like, hey, look what we got. But no.
So yeah, hey, I do want to say I'm sorry too. You guys, I know you guys love your panels, and I love the panels too, but I only had one day, so I had two purposes that basically to see everything and to get my steps in. I got in 17,000 steps that day, and I was feeling good until the next day when I woke up and the adrenaline was worn off, and my hips were like, "Man, you're 49 years old, aren't you?"
No, dude. Number one, I love walking around the con. I love cardio, so I need to go running with Jonathan because Jonathan's always like, "Hey, you should go with me and run the Hollywood Bowl," and I'm like,
Ooh.
"Yeah, I'm not built like that, bro. I'm just not built like that." But yeah, I love cardio too. So like, I should have. It didn't bother me at all. And as far as the panels, I look at it like this: there was no fandom there that me and Joe were like, "Oh man, we have to go to this."
Right.
Uh, Sometimes it's and for me, this is more important than ever. It's about hanging out with your bros, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and seeing you happy because I know that like I feel like there's nothing that can compare to your love to X-Men for either of us. You know, Joe loves One Piece. You know, I jump around. I got Shazam sometimes, Godzilla sometimes, Dragon Ball sometimes. It depends. What's the flavor of the quarter for me? But
Right.
you love X-Men, dude. So when you get to be in your element, it's just great to see you doing your thing. By the way, shout out to Lucas just because Alfonso obviously has a relationship with him. Uh, he pretty much introduced himself as far as he was talking to Alfonso, introduced himself to me, and I was like, "That's really cool, dude," because like I'll keep saying, in the X-Men community, I feel like there have been a lot of people that I personally have experienced that come off as very standoffish, but I thought Lucas was really cool. He was definitely a guy who he has a lot of success. He's a phenomenal artist, but he's not walking around like, "Oh, I'm such a good artist. I can't talk to anybody." So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's Lucas Ackerman, Art of Lucas. You can find him anywhere. He has shirts on T Public, on Redbubble. Man, he does some good stuff, and I think you even have one of his shirts and stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, he's got one of your shirts, and he. It was funny because the last time I saw him, he's cosplaying like Logan, so he had the beard, but he had his mustache and goatee kind of shaved off, and he walked up to me, and I'm like, crap, who is this? And he goes, "Me, Lucas." I'm like, oh man, I felt so bad. I didn't recognize him. And you know what? I didn't get a selfie with him. I'm like, come on, man. I'm sorry. I sent him a message saying, I'm sorry. He goes, next time, dude, we'll see each other again. I'm like, yeah, we will. Since I'm like number 2 in his purchase history for his t-shirts. And man, in my opinion, he got robbed. He should have been able to get onto that X-Men 97 because his art is spot on was what they do. And he does really good stuff, man.
Yeah, I agree. Who knows, man? I feel like every everyone gets their just rewards in the end. So I'm sure he'll get the success that he deserves. He's already very successful, but he'll get what he deserves down the
Oh yeah,
line. Yeah.
most def.
So was that the only panel you went to, Alfonso?
Well, I mean, I went to that one, the trade paperback one with you guys for a little bit. I got to learn about what was the kid's name? Afro Pony. Dude, that looked pretty cool. I looked it up. There was a couple other panels there. I looked up their stuff while they're talking about it. They actually had some really good kid stuff, There was one guy, I forget his name, but he was doing all these trade paperbacks about North and Greek mythology. Everything he talked about sounded amazing. I didn't get a chance to look at his artwork. Um, but that was a lot of fun. But you know what? Stomach started grumbling, and I'm like, man, those food trucks sound really good about now. I go, I'm gonna be right back, guys. I bowed out, went over to the food trucks. It was raining, so then I had to go back inside and settle for a stupid burger from their friggin' cafe, man.
A rather expensive burger, no doubt.
Yep. I had to buy 2 of them because, I took care of Emma's boyfriend and got her some nachos, and man.
That's cool though. You're an awesome dad, dude. That's
I try.
cool.
I try.
So Alfonso, now in my head, I'll have stuck in my head for the rest of the week, Afro Pony, Afro Pony, Afro Pony, because in that panel, that lady said Afro Pony no less than 100 times. Now, is that genius?
It's
I
marketing.
think so, because she said Afro Pony so much. I can't tell you the name of any other products,
Exactly.
but I tell you Afro Pony. So you know, I guess it worked. I looked online too for some Afro Pony. I was like, not impressed. I did pick up some comic books. I'm gonna have to read. There was one. I'm like, why is this story gonna be about Satan? So this brother, he wrote a book about uh, Lucifer in the Wild Wild West and how he ended up being evil. And I was like, well, guess I'll have to buy it now. You know, like you walk up to someone and you're like, "Oh, tell me what your book's about," and they explain
Right,
it, and you're thinking to yourself, "I have absolutely no interest in this." And then he got done, and I was like, I started looking at his table because I was trying to figure out what's the cheapest thing I could buy. And I
right.
was like, "How much is the comic book here?" He's like, "Well, that's for people who already have issues 1, 2, and 5. But if you wanna," I was like, "Ah, dang." So I ended up buying like the trade paperback for Lucifer Volume 1 through 5 or Morningstar 1 through
Right.
5. Um, yeah, that was Sunday. You know, on Sunday, you're feeling like, man, I should probably grab some stuff. And that's what I got.
Right.
So,
One
yeah.
one one thing that I picked up, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mark Bernardin, but he has a podcast with Kevin Smith called Hollywood Babylon. No, I'm sorry, not Hollywood Babylon. That's Ralph Garman. He does Fat Man Beyond. Um, originally it was oh my gosh, what was it called before? Anyways, it's Fat Man Beyond. So the two of them do that show, and they go over a lot of movies, shows, kind of like what we do. But Mark Bernardin, he used to work for Fangoria magazine. He worked for Entertainment Weekly. He's certified writer. He does a lot of really good work. He put out a book called Adora in the Distance. And Mark Bernardin has a daughter who's autistic, and he says he always looks at her and he sees her looking like she's in her own world, right? He was like, I wonder where her mind goes when she's absent for that minute, right? So he wrote a story called Adora in the Distance about this girl Adora when she was autistic, and what happens is what goes on in her mind, she's in this complete fantasy world where she is large and in charge, you know what I mean? And he's talked about it so many times. I've been wanting to pick this book up. I always seem to miss him at cons, so I finally got the trade paperback, got him to autograph it. And he also recently put out 2 issues of Mace Windu. There was like 4 or 5 different number ones. I got the one that I thought was the best. It had the purple lightsaber right up against his face, and he signed it in purple. Oh man, it looks so good. And then I got issue 2, so cannot wait to read those 2. And A Door in the Distance, but got a good picture with him. I'm doing the thing where I'm pointing at him, he's pointing at me, sticking his tongue out a little bit, like, oh man, he's such a great guy. I love listening to their podcast. Them two are the ones that kind of gave me the inspiration to want to go ahead and do something like this. I ramble a bit, I stutter a little bit, I mumble a little bit, and I was always worried that I couldn't carry on a conversation. But you get me talking about X-Men, I'm not going to shut up. You know what I mean? And I've learned lately to just kind of take everything back to X-Men.
Yeah, which is cool, man. I feel like the podcast is definitely a lot better with you on it. And I feel like every time I listen to an episode, I'm like, oh, I said 1,000 times or whatever. We're human, dude. Nobody wants to hear any polished, curated podcasts. They want to hear people they like and people who are talking about things that they love, and
Yes,
that's
sir.
whether it be Shazam this week or Dragon Ball next week or Godzilla later on, or maybe I'm riding Alfonso's coattails and I'm trying to be Bishop. People want to hear about things that people love. So, you're perfect, bro. This is exactly where you should be.
Thank you so much. I love it.
Yeah.
I concur.
Thank you, sir. Means a lot to me. It really does.
And so this concludes this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. So until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds redefined. Booyah.